Well, here it is, finally. All the UFO nuts have been waiting with bated breath for this report to come out from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Preliminary Assessment, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, 25th of June 2021. And as I predicted, it doesn't say anything whatsoever about the Earth being visited by ET. There is no evidence of any of these unidentified flying objects being extraterrestrial in origin. In fact, if you download this document and search it, put the word extraterrestrial in the search bar, it appears 0 times in the 9 pages. So the word extraterrestrial does not even appear in this report. Okay? So the leak was absolutely right. There is no evidence of extraterrestrial involvement in these unidentified aerial phenomena. Now, people like Ben Emlyn Jones, of course, who live in perpetual denial, he will never have it that Roswell was just a balloon, because his entire worldview is based on that being the crash of an alien spacecraft. If that wasn't an alien spacecraft, then there's no free energy. And if there's no free energy, then the 9/11 incident wasn't, the buildings on 9/11 weren't brought down by a directed energy weapon powered by free energy. So there's no free energy. There's no Roswell crash. And this is why he was saying that the skeptics will have to change their whole world view, you know. It's because he knows he's going to have to change his whole world view. If there's no evidence of extraterrestrial visitation, then Roswell was not the crash of an alien spacecraft. Richard Dolan says there's evidence of 16 crash retrievals, ET crash retrievals. Absolute nonsense. Because they're telling us the government has no evidence of extraterrestrial involvement in these ET involvement in these UFO sightings. These UFOs are not. There is no evidence. These UFOs are ET. They don't know what they are. And it does actually make a little more sense that it would be equipment being used by a potential adversary. Especially when you hear about the sort of roiling, they tell the story of the roiling under the ocean, you know, and when they show the Tic Tac video. We don't see a video of that, of course, but if you had there was a military exercise going on at the time, it would make sense for maybe a Russian submarine to be just below the surface and launch a balloon with an electronics package on it, so that it could monitor, you know, the radars that the Americans were using. They'd be able to measure the frequency, the amplitude, the pulse repetition rate. They could gain some useful intelligence from something like that. I think it's far more likely to be something like that than an extraterrestrial spacecraft, especially when you consider if you use the numbers from the aircraft head-up display and do a bit of trigonometry, as Mick West did, you find that it's not a low, fast-moving object. It's a high, slow-moving object. It's hardly moving, so it's a balloon, and it's really disappointing that the people analysing the video could confuse a balloon with something spectacular. Same thing goes for the video they released of that Chilean UFO. You know, all the experts were looking at it for 2 years and they couldn't figure out what it was. They put the video on the internet, and within 2 days it was correctly identified as a commercial flight, even the flight number. You know, so these you got to wonder how expert these experts really are. Much ado about nothing. I think there was a bit of excitement, or everyone's waiting for this report. The report comes out and says, well, there's no evidence of it being extraterrestrial. Doesn't even mention the word extraterrestrial in the report's 9 pages. Of which I think only 5 or 6 of them are actually the report. There's a couple of appendix pages and an introduction. So everyone, all these UFO enthusiasts, and make no mistake, that's what they are. They're not researchers. Got really excited about this coming out, and you know, it's exactly what I expected. So the excitement will die off, and this is going to fade back into obscurity. That's what's going to happen. If it had said something else, if it had said something a little more spectacular, like yeah, well, you know, we've got some crash flying saucers, and we've got them in sheds, and we're analysing them, and we've got jars full of aliens, then yeah, I can understand people getting a bit excited about that. It's going to raise the interest level a little bit, isn't it? And the UFO enthusiasts will be saying, "Oh, told you," yeah. But as it is, they're not in a position to be able to say that, are they? Because they are the ones with the egg all over their faces. No evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. The word extraterrestrial does not appear once anywhere on this 9-page document. So there we go. I saw something interesting the other day. It was Luis Elizondo being interviewed again, and goodness knows why, because people stick him in front of a camera and interview him, and all he ever says is, "I can't tell you anything." Got to wonder what the point of that is precisely, but he provided a really interesting answer, I thought, to a question posed by Mick West. And I've never seen any debunking of Mick West, to be honest. I mean, he used the numbers from the head-up display in the aircraft to show that tic-tac was actually a high, slow-moving object. I used the same numbers and got exactly the same answer as Mick West. So I've not seen anybody debunk Mick West's explanation of the tic-tac. But he posed a really simple, interesting question, and Elizondo was all over the place. As usual, he goes all around the houses. He will never answer a question, just, you know, "Oh, yes" or "No. Yes, I've seen that. No, I haven't." And one of the things he said that I thought was a real standout was when Mick West said, "Why don't you just reveal what you know?" And then reveal that, you know, ET's visiting the planet, or you've seen this technology. And Elizondo says, "Why don't you do that, Mr. West? Why don't you do it?" As though Mick West would be in a position to say there's evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. I think Mick West is looking for it, as I am. But, you know, I'm not in a position to reveal it. Mick West isn't in a position to reveal it. Supposedly, Elizondo is. So why on earth would he respond like that? It sort of suggests that he's surrounded himself with UFO enthusiasts, not researchers. They're all telling him this is happening. It's ET. And he's interested in the subject. He may very well be a UFO enthusiast himself. In fact, he probably is. He chooses to believe it, just like Ben Emily Jones does. Doesn't mean he's seen any evidence of it, or he's in a position to reveal it's happening because he's seen evidence, because I don't think he has. I don't think he knows any more about it than we do. And it makes no sense whatsoever for him to leave a Pentagon job looking into UFOs and move into the civilian world to further this cause of disclosure, because because he's moved into the civilian world. He's no different to me or Mick West or Ben Emily Jones. You know, we're not going to get that information. He's not in a position to get that information, is he? So the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Why would you leave a Pentagon job doing that? To go and work with people like the sort of people you'd find at the TTSA, you know. It makes no sense whatsoever. The whole thing makes no sense. Anyway, let's have a look at what Mr. Elizondo had to say in response to Mick West's question. Okay, so this is quite a good channel, this one. If you haven't checked this one out, give this guy a look. I'll leave a link to this below so you can watch this in its entirety. But Louis, I haven't watched his response to the Skinwalker or remote viewing, but this is, they spent some time, didn't they? This Bigelow and Co. at the Skinwalker Ranch, and the best they could do after years of research was come up with a shot of a creature that had been cribbed from a B movie called Extraterrestrial. There's nothing to it. It's nonsense. Remote viewing, no such thing, of course. And again, remote viewing can be very easily demonstrated if it can be done. Why didn't anybody get paid $1 million by James Randi for demonstrating remote viewing, just telling Randi what was in his lounge room? Or more horrifically, what might have been in his bedroom? Where's my $1 million? No such thing as remote viewing. Skinwalker Ranch is absolute nonsense, nothing going on there. Invisible College, well, you can't... Says it all, really, doesn't it? Now, this is... where's the channel? Oh, I'll just scroll down and show you the channel. But as I said, I'll leave a link to this below. But take a look at this. Take a look at this channel. Theories of Everything with Kurt Jamungal. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've probably butchered your name, but if I have, apologies for that. But this guy, I think, has got a scientific background. He's a pretty smart guy, and he does some interesting stuff. Now, here we go. He's going to pose a question to Mr. Elizondo here, whose beard appears to be getting greyer by the day. If you compare that with the colour of his eyebrows, he looks like a man under a little bit of stress. Let's just have a listen to a question posed by Mick West. I didn't know this was going on, otherwise I might have posed a question as well. And that is, why don't you either take a dump or get off the pot, Mr. Elizondo? What is the point of being interviewed time and time again saying, I can't tell you anything? It's all classified. I don't want to go to jail. What is the point of that exactly? Okay. Anyway, let's... you got the volume up? Let's put the volume up. Let's hear the question. I think it's an excellent question.
The next question comes from Mick West. I'd like to ask Lou Elizondo, I'll just read this verbatim, if he really thinks this is non-human technology that can revolutionize the world and maybe include contact with aliens and extra-dimensional beings and so on, why is he so concerned with NDAs? Surely for the good of humanity he should release the evidence that he has.
Surely for the good of humanity. Then he can go ahead and pay for my mortgage. He can put my kids through school. He can come visit me every day and give me soup while I'm behind bars, spending the next 40 years of my life, doing a service for somebody else. I've already put my neck on the line. So all due respect, Mr. West, if why don't you? There's nothing stopping you. Why don't you do it? I've already put my career.
There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you. Why don't you do it? And he's talking to Mick West here. Now, Elizondo puts himself forward as somebody that knows about this stuff. He's seen evidence, or he's aware of evidence that ET is visiting the planet. So he, according to him, is in a position to tell us whether it's happening or not. Mick West isn't. Mick West is in no better a position to reveal the Earth is being visited by ET than I am, or that the bloody Ben Emily Jones is. It's that is a ridiculous response. Absolutely ridiculous. Why don't you do it? That's just crazy, isn't it? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, that response. So that sort of suggests to me that he spends so much of his time surrounded by these UFO people that he has come to believe their stories. Okay, so he thinks anybody can reveal this information. There's no evidence of it whatsoever. No evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. So what he's saying is, why don't you tell your story? Why don't you tell us it's all real? I mean, Mick West, I suspect, is very much like myself. He'd be happy to reveal it if he saw some evidence that would convince him it was actually happening. This is what we're all waiting for. We want to know, is this happening or is this all science fiction stories? Where is the evidence? And For Luis Elizondo to respond like that, he's supposed to be in the know. He worked for the Pentagon, and he's saying, "Why don't you do it?" tells me he knows nothing. He has no evidence of ET visitation. All he has is what we have. A couple of pictures, a tic-tac that, if you do the trigonometry, turns out to be a balloon. This is much ado about nothing, isn't it? And, this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Let's just see what else he's got to say.
My reputation and credibility on the line. I've already foregone my...
Well, you've certainly forgone your credibility, I think. It was a very simple question, though, wasn't it? Have you seen any evidence of any technology that could change humanity? And he's going into this long-winded spiel. When I first saw Elizondo being interviewed by Mick West, and Mick West just asked him a really simple question right at the beginning, and he gave this sort of 3.5-minute long-winded answer that went round and round in circles, and I thought, you're wasting your time, Mr. West. You're wasting your time.
Retirement. And my pension. How much more else do you expect me to sacrifice? You want me to put myself up on a cross and nail myself to it? Just because? I think we've come pretty far so far. I think I haven't had to go to jail, and we've come pretty damn far in the last 3 years. So I guess a simple "you're welcome" is probably would be my response.
How far have we come in the last 3 years? He's talking about those 3 Navy videos. Which weren't released by him anyway, were they? I don't think. And maybe I'm wrong. Where did I read where they were, how they actually surfaced those videos? But really, if this is all he's going to say, then new business. Bye, Mr. Elizondo. Have fun. Have a good life.
Whistleblower protection acts that you could reveal information under?
Oh, this is part of the IG process. This is part of...
You see, again, now he's a civilian. Where is he going to get this information to release? This whole story makes no sense whatsoever. What if he was so interested in doing this and getting this so-called evidence out into the public domain? Why not stay where he was? In the Pentagon, where he could get hold of this information and leak it.
Of Congress. There are people that I can speak with without violating my non-disclosure agreement that can further the conversation. And this is what we're trying to exercise. I've tried to be as clear as I can with our roadmap moving forward without jeopardizing it. But if people notice one thing about me is that I'm deliberate. I don't do anything haphazard. So...
Or you don't do anything at all.
All the stuff that people are now seeing with conversations in Congress and IG, do people honestly think that's just some sort of coincidence? Guys, if you look at what I've been saying the last 3 years, you're going to see a pattern. It's very clear.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's a very clear pattern that there is zero evidence of any of this actually happening.
Everything I've said has come to fruition, lock, stock, and barrel. We're trying to do this the right way. And as I said before, there's a difference between doing things right and right now. And I'd prefer to do things right. This is a process. I've told people from day one, if you're expecting instant gratification, then, go take up something else. Go take up finger painting. Don't do this, because this is going to be a long-term effort. And it's every day the due diligence of what we're doing, but it's making a difference. Just look at the last 3 years, how far we've come. We have an official UAP task force. We have the government admitting that UFOs are real. We have Congress being briefed at the classified level. They're all coming out saying this is important. We actually have the task force now providing information to Congress in a 180-day report. We have other countries like Japan coming out and reaching out and wanting to share their information with us. Man, how much more do you want in 3 years? So again, forgive me for being a little bit, testy about this.
That's fine. Do questions like that annoy you? Do you get them frequently and you're tired of them?
Yeah, okay. Well, Yeah, well, there does seem to be some truth to that. I mean, they produced a report, didn't they? I don't know what the task force actually consists of. I heard somewhere that it was 2 people. But if you want instant gratification, well, that's what all the UFO people want, isn't it? They want to know. They want to know now. They don't want all this pussyfooting around. I can't tell you. It's classified, you know. They want to know, is there evidence? If there's evidence, show us. The report says there's no evidence. So what's he saying? The report's lying? The report is saying there is no evidence that it's extraterrestrial visitation. I'm going to read that report again, but I'm pretty sure the word extraterrestrial does not appear in it. All right, well, I might have a bit of a look at what else he's got to say about some of these other subjects. But the trouble is, this is quite a long video, and I don't really want to watch all of it. I don't have time to watch all of it. But I just had a look down. It's all broken down into sections, and I just thought I'd have a look at Mick West's question. But notice how he sort of skirts. It's very, very, very simple question. You know, have you seen anything, any technology or anything like that? He doesn't answer that question. He just says in a roundabout way he can't answer it. It's all fluff from this guy.
Well, you know what? It's armchair quarterbacking. It's easy for people to sit back. I see it all the time on social media. Just violate your NDA. It's okay. You go to jail for us. It's okay. But they're not willing to do 1/10 of that sacrifice for this effort. If you act,
well, they're not in a position to. That is the point. That's the point. You know, I'm not in a position to divulge that information, nor is Mick West, nor are any other UFO enthusiasts. You supposedly are in that position.
ask them, hey, get off your ass and go talk to your congressman, or start doing research and start going out and being a force multiplier for this effort.
Yeah, but what's research going to show you? Research is only going to show you a lot of science fiction stories, isn't it? Fuzzy pictures and science fiction stories. That's all the research ever turns up. There's nothing else to it.
I'm too tired. I got too much going. I'm too busy. Well, I got my family to take care of. Well, so do I. I'm no different. Why am I being held to a different standard? Why am I have to be, the person coming out there and just say hell to everybody?
Because supposedly you are the guy with the information. You have put yourself out there and you're asking for this. You are asking for people to pay attention to you and to what you're saying. And you're saying nothing. You need to make your bloody mind up. Take a dump or get off the pot.
And wind up having to go run and hide in some foreign country and never come back to my country. I love my country. By the way, my non-disclosure agreement I took was a promise I made to the American people, not my government.
Well, there you go. So there's no reason why not. There's no reason why he can't tell us what he knows. He doesn't tell us what he knows because he doesn't know anything, because there is nothing to this.
So I think it's really disingenuous to say, well, you can just break your promise this time for the truth. No, I can't. That's like saying, well, you can cheat on your wife only this time, or you can cheat on your family this time. It won't matter. Yes, it does matter. Every time matters. It's a promise. That's what a promise is. Either you're a man of your word or a woman of your word, or you're not. Otherwise, and they're called principles, and people fight.
Yeah, you shouldn't really put yourself in the frame for this sort of thing and then say, I can't tell you about it. Either disappear back to where you came from, or get up, get on a lectern on 60 Minutes and tell us all of it, one or the other. Don't wriggle. Don't make excuses. Don't say, look at me, look at me, look at me, and then say nothing. It's completely pointless, isn't it? All right, let's just see what else he's got to say. If he's got nothing else to say that's of any interest, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.